don't be afraid of falling under the credit card. Don't be afraid to fly. Give me a ball if you need it. Oh, hang on. I'll check my mic. No, it should be quiet. Yeah, believe it or not, me and everyone's favorite commentators tend to disagree on strategy, race style, and everything. So even when we were doing our broadcast on Sunday, last night, we were talking about strategy. I would disagree with them. I wouldn't disagree with them. I just share a different perspective. Just have to learn how to, instead of being like, you're wrong, be more like, well, another possibility is that you can this way. Exactly. Oh, I'm not seeing the PRL on GSRC or on iRacing. Should do that. Mics are hot, Joe.
After 2 rounds, the championship fight is closer than ever. While Asturi and Munoz look for consistency, the steady hand of Abner Acosta has him currently sitting atop the leaderboard as we head to the Glen. Will Acosta's top 5s continue, or will Asturi or Munoz find another win to vault themselves to the lead once again? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Precision Racing League GTE series, sponsored by Simulation Motorsports Affinity. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Ocean Puhaka. Our director tonight will be the boss man, Joe Peak, and he's using the cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen is one of the most storied tracks in the USA, with humble beginnings as an upstate New York street course. Let's learn more about this beautiful venue by taking you down to our track guide.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
Yeah, as we saw a couple laps around there and the chaos of the open qualifying begins. Ocean, why don't you talk to us a little bit more about what we have going on here at the Glen for these GTE cars tonight?
Glad to do so, Adam. Glad to do so. 12 turns. It is the boot layout with the bus stop chicane. Watkins Glen, upstate New York. 3.4 miles, 5.5 kilometers. It's a legendary circuit. They've been racing anything you can imagine here. They've been racing Formula One. They've been racing NASCAR. They've been racing GTE. And certainly it'll be a hot race out today. It's a fast circuit with fast corners and medium speed corners. You don't really have any overly slow corners. No proper hairpins here. Closest thing that comes to the hairpin is the turn number 10, as well as the heel of the boot. Aside from that, no real slow corners. So it's gonna favor drivers who can take fast corners with serious speed, and it's gonna favor the cars. For GTE is gonna be the favorite here, but who is gonna take the win? That's anyone's question.
It definitely is, and one of the things we want to mention as well is our race sponsor today. As always, today's race is brought to you by SimSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and even complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between the two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsports fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. That's SIMMSA.net. Also, today's broadcast is proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. The ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker Game or 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Alright, Ocean, we got some points going up, so why don't you tackle the teams for us first, and we'll take a look at those.
Of course, let's look at the team standings. We have Level Motorsports with Abner Costa, Bruno Asturi, and Alexis Acerbo. Turbo Acerbo in the lead with 127 inter-point standings, ahead of Radicals Online Turn Racing, Javi Utrelas and Mateus Narciso. Punto CL Racing Blue, Horacio Calguin, Rodrigo Mies, Christian Eisler, P number 3, RSR Esport by G Performance Ford, Paulo Munoz, Christopher Pfeffer, and Ignacio Hortal, and Punto CL Racing Red with Felipe Ruiz, Lucas Basigalupo, and Eduardo Avila Gach, rounding out your top 5. It is fairly spread out, despite there being only 2 rounds, but anything can still happen in the remaining 8. And
Adam, well, you got the Drivers' Championship for us, and it is looking tight over there.
Yeah, it is very tight for the top three, all separated by 1 point apiece. Abner Acosta and Bruno Asturi, both of those level motorsports machines up there in the lead of this. But then we have Paul Munoz in that RSR eSports by G Performance machine in third place. He's only 2 points out of the lead. Then Matthias Narciso, 6 points down of part of the Radicals Online Turn Racing in fourth, and Don Squarick is only 10 points away. I mean, like, you could throw a blanket over these guys at this point. Now, granted, this is only after 2 rounds. This race will be a big decider, and there's a couple other factors that are going to make this interesting. But we'll talk about those shortly. Why don't we talk about the race details, though, Ocean?
Indeed, it is a 1-hour race, as usual for those who have been following this series. We got the GTE machinery here today, the Porsche, the Ferrari, the Ford GT, and the BMW Big Boy as well. Open setup drivers can set their cars up to their liking, and we have an incident cap. Stop and go at 13 incidents, disqualification at 20 incidents. 1 bonus points for fastest lap, pole position, and 3 incidents or less. So that is your race of the day in a nutshell, and that's how they're gonna be racing as well. Oh, and one more thing, fuel is limited to 65%. And also, if you like to watch these lap times, if you're a little bit confused maybe, or just want to focus on your favorite driver, head over to GSRC.tv. That's GSRC.tv for our live timing. And Adam, we got the qualifying underway, and it's Asturi in the lead.
Yeah, Asturi in the lead. Actually, Costa had the lead very early on, but he then ended up losing it to Asturi just a couple of laps ago. So about 8 minutes left in qualifying at this point. It'll be interesting to see whether Acosta will be able to jump back up there. But Michael Amaras doing a good job there in the second position. But one of the things that might be throwing these drivers off is we had an update today to iRacing, Oceana. Why don't you talk about what that changed for these drivers?
A lot of things. Basically, iRacing has done a significant update to the GTE tire model. Now, that's been a subject of light discussions over there. People have been talking about the GTE tire model and how it can be improved, and the already good model has been improved even more recently. However, for these drivers, it was a race day update. In fact, the update was rolled out around noon US time, meaning potentially very little time to test, and also meaning, as with any tire update, the setups have to be significantly revamped or even redone altogether, and that's a race day task for these guys. So as you can see, usual suspects up front, but that might make things a little bit more curious for some of the drivers in the midfield or towards the back of the field.
Munoz crossing the line here for another fast lap. He actually does go faster and is going to move up ahead of Abner Acosta, who has yet to put in a fast lap himself. Abner Acosta now coming across the line. He's going to come through the final turn. Let's see whether or not he can improve his time.
Yeah, Acosta coming in here and coming over the line, and that's a 143.3. He actually takes the provisional pole position right now, so Acosta once again proving to be mighty quick indeed, and his 4 GTs now, they are very fast at Watkins Glen, so that's no surprise. But Abner Acosta taking the provisional pole for now, Adam. However, I don't think these guys, Asturi, Ross, Acerbo, Munoz, and others, I don't think they've yet sang their last song.
No, they definitely haven't. If you're wondering how fast those 4 GTEs are, the top 4 are all 4 GTEs, then it's followed by 2 Ferraris and then 1 BMW, who seems to have been the most affected, at least in a different way than people would expect, with the setup, with the tire change. And speaking of the tire change, with only about 9 hours of practice, that is if you're not working and can spend all 9 hours of that, that means all of your setup ideas that you had going into this race have to be adjusted for that tire setup. Is that correct, Ocean?
Yeah, it has to be adjusted, and the first thing you want to find out are the operating temperatures. Okay, you start out from the old setup. If it can still get past tech inspection, then you start from your old setup and you start to compare the lap times in comparable conditions. That is to say, and you work it out against your old times, you work about the operating temperatures. That usually takes 2 or 3 hours. it helps if you have teammates in the task, and then you start to do longer stints, maybe, you know, figure out how is it wearing, how is the car handling on lighter fuel loads, and only then can you start actually making adjustments. You start to think about, okay, we have changes to the tires, do we have to change the tire pressures, do we have to maybe change the suspension, the chassis to fit the new tire a little better, how is the tire handling in cold temps, how's it handling in hot temps, and you simply don't have time for all that testing during the span of a day. That's usually about 3-4 days, even for a big team, to figure out a new tire and how it roughly has changed things, and even more to figure out the tricks and the improvements and the optimization of a new tire model to make themselves competitive. So it's a constant race against updates, and it's a constant race to improve and have that little edge against their opposition.
We're watching Paulo Munoz go around for what is one of his faster laps. He does clip the inside curb there. Hopefully it doesn't knock out his time. But yeah, one of the things we haven't talked about yet, as we have 4 minutes left in qualifying, is the weather. It is toasty out here in upstate New York right now. It is 112 degrees Fahrenheit on the track, 44 degrees Celsius. That is pretty toasty for these drivers, especially even with the partial cloud cover we're getting around here.
Yeah, no kidding, and that is gonna put this new tire model to the test, because of course hotter track temps means hotter tire temps. That means tires are gonna wear out more, and with a track like Watkins Glen full of fast corners, it's gonna wear out those left side tires pretty quickly, and that's gonna be, you know, a lot of drivers finding themselves on very slippery ground, like Bambi on ice on those last minutes of the race, Adam.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is that wind, 12 miles an hour out of the west. It is variable, so it's changing between northwest and west. I saw it gust up to about 15 earlier on, so that will be affecting these drivers as well, especially when they're headed up towards the bus stop. Chicane is where you're going to be feeling it the most going through the S's there. Bruno Asturi, he's going to try and set a fastest lap here as well. He's looking pretty decent as he comes through the final corner. He's in second place. He needs about 3 100ths in order to jump Acosta. We'll see whether or not he can get it done. He crosses the line.
Wow.
It is significantly faster. He nails 4/10 off of that thing and jumps Acosta up to provisional pole.
And that's been the story of the season so far, the battle of teammates, Abner Acosta versus Bruno Asturi. And must be said, even if Abner Acosta is a multi-time champion in this series, he's a past champion, Bruno Asturi, he's had the edge over his champion teammate so far. He's been a little bit faster. Only reason why Bruno Asturi doesn't lead this championship is that he ran out of fuel last week at Monza. He underfueled and pretty much knew it immediately. We heard about him on the post-race interviews and telling exactly what happened. But he won the opening round at Interlagos, and he is on some pretty good pace here at Watkins Glen as well. Now, can Bruno Asturi come back? He's sitting, Abner Acosta come back. He's still sitting on the pit lane. So that looks to be, oh, he's heading out right now, but he might be a little bit too late.
He should be able to get one more lap in. They do about mid 130 43s on their slow laps, so if he can get out there pretty quickly, he left pit lane with 150 to go. It's going to be tight, but he might be able to get one more lap in. This is Alexis Acerbo coming around the final 2 corners. This final corner is always one that's so challenging to get right, but you have to nail it if you want to get a good lap time in.
Yeah, those final couple of corners, you're thinking you are clear already, but you're really not, and there's no room for error really. You come into the penultimate corner, you turn left, and you have to kind of turn in right from the wall, and then hit that apex just right. Don't run out too wide, because that curb, we'll see drivers spinning out from that curb. That's a sure thing. And then the last corner, people always turn in a little bit too early there, because the curb is kind of deceptive. But really, you turn in a little bit later, and then you just floor the throttle pretty much. You can go so early on the throttle because those corners are again so fast, and then just, you know, you want to nail those last couple of corners. But at the same time, many drivers at the last corners, they kind of tend to be a little bit tentative, you know. They think that they got a good lap going, they're seeing green on their delta, that means they're going under their previous time, going faster, and they are a little bit too careful, and you can easily lose a 10th or even 2 at the last 2 corners at Watkins Glen if you do that.
Absolutely. So all the drivers coming across the line now will be starting their final laps. Don Esqueric is going to be one of the final ones to cross the line. He crosses it with about 12 seconds to go. Abner Acosta, though, looks like he might be able to get his last lap started. 2 seconds, 1 second. He's not going to make it to the line.
Oh, they did a Monza.
So Acosta will not be able to count this final lap, I do not believe.
No, definitely not. He was 2 seconds too late. I was wondering when he was leaving for the track, Adam, that he was a little bit too late, and he's still gonna probably drive this lap, but he was definitely, the checkered flag was flying for Abner Acosta when he came over the line, and at the same time Acerbo climbing himself all the way up to P number 3. So it is Asturia Costa Acerbo, the AAA level motorsport 1, 2, 3 so far.
Matt Hilton does not set a better time. Next car across the line will be Paulo Munoz to see whether or not he can get a good, decent lap in. Trying to beat that 143.6 they set last time, and he's able to do so about by 3/10. He jumps up to 4th position, up ahead of Michael M. Ross.
Indeed, that's a very good qualifying for Paulo Munoz. Now, Don Squirk as well. He is on track, and he is, I believe, on a fast lap, just coming to the heel section of the track. So 3 corners left. Don is sitting in P number 7 with a 143.8, and he has 3/10 to find to Christopher Pfeffer and to Michael Ross as well. But it's already a good qualifying. Can he make it great?
Eitzer coming across the line trying to beat a 144.28, does so with a 144 flat. That'll jump him up to 13th position. Don's thinking that he decides to bail out of his lap, and Lucas looks like Lucas Bacigalupo is going to come across the line. He was not able to improve his time either. And so we have our final drivers coming across now. Abner Acosta, like we said, did not start the lap on time. He sits a 143.098, but it's not going to count.
No, and Rodrigo Mies came over the line as well on the dying seconds. He did a 143.798, climbing all the way to 7th place. Not quite as good as we've been expecting from the Chilean driver, but he's surely going to be a factor in the race as well. And just, Adam, Watkins Glen, it's always tight in the qualifying. So, Bruno Asturi's lap, that makes it even more impressive.
It definitely does. That will take us to the grid, with Bruno Asturi taking the pole position. Abner Acosta lining up alongside him in 2nd place after not being able to start his final qualifying lap in time. Alexis Acerbo is going to start off in 3rd position, with Paulo Munoz moving up to 4th in the final closing laps. Michael M. Ross was docked 2 positions in those final closing laps, down to 5th spot. We'll be starting alongside Christopher Pfeffer in 6th. Rodrigo Mies is going to start off 7th place, with Donnie Squirk starting off in 8th. Then we have Rafael Russo and Christian Eisler, who will be rounding out your top 10.
And on the 11th place, J.R. Williams, alongside him, Lucas Bacigalupo. Horacio Calguin starting 13th, Felipe Luis starting 14th, Ignacio Hortal 15th, Ted Lowendick 16th, Juan Rivas Brea 17th, Eduardo Gach 18th, Pablo Uribe 19th, and Jason Brimkus rounding out your top 20.
Then we have Nick Uitgehag starting off in the 21st position, with Miguel A. Lopez Torres starting off in 22nd, Yavi Utrez starting off in 23rd, and Andres Espinoza in 24th position. Luis Bam Jr. starting off in 25th, with Matt Hilton 26th. Then we have Liam Jenkins, Ken Rodriguez, Kyle Strikers, and James Nunn rounding out your top 30, and then Stacy Kyle Dunnigan starting off in 31st will round out your field for today.
Indeed, and Stacey Danigan will not be starting this race, it looks like, so he has bailed out already at this point. Probably something coming up. Haven't had the best of seasons so far, but hopefully they can find themselves back in the following rounds. But yeah, Watkins Glen, we will have a pace lap still on this track, so, Adam, it's gonna be a tight event. It's always a tight event. This is one track that provides excellent racing, and I think you'll agree with me when I say that, as an expert, I can say it will be an entertaining 1 hour.
It definitely will. And 2 things to think about before we start this race. First off is that the timer starts ticking as soon as the pace car pulls off of the line. So that means it's not a full 60 minutes under green flag. It's 60 minutes since the pace car rolls off. So they end up with about 5 minutes off of the clock by the time they come around due to the pace lap. Another thing to be keeping in mind is the fact that we have the orange lap that was expanded from last season from the orange sector to the orange lap. And what we have going is that means that any of the incidents that happen on the first lap end up being scrutinized by the stewards without a protest necessary. So it's just something that they put in place to encourage drivers to take it cautious at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, and just a tiny correction there, Adam. You're correct in a sense that the timer starts running down when the pace car is out, so pretty much now already. But the race time actually starts when the green flag flies, when the pace car pulls into the pit lane. So it's gonna be pretty much 60 minutes under the green flag conditions. But yeah, it's very easy to get those confused. But yeah, we have a 1 hour race, rest assured. It's not, 1 hour, but we shaved a little bit off.
So as we get ready to get going, noticing none of these drivers right now doing any weaving to warm up their tires. It's possible that some of that was a little bit helped out. We see a couple of drivers towards the back doing so, but how much do these cold tires affect these cars when they're going through the S's, especially at the beginning of this race?
Quite a lot, because you don't really have time to get used to the tire, and they're cooling down all this time. Now they're saving the tire. The tires are not wearing at all at these speeds. They're doing maybe 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour at most on this pace lap behind the pace car. But when you go into the first corner, it's always a bit of a question, okay, how's my car going to handle? Now they have some experience from the qualifying and from the practice. Ideally, they have practiced that. But in the race conditions, when you got 30 cars on the track, when you got cars all around you, you have no space, you have the adrenaline pumping, you have your legs shaking a little bit. It's always a difficult situation, especially at Watkins Glen. When you head to the first corner, it's kind of a fast sweeping right, and then you come through the S's. And it can be a little bit of a surprise how it handles. Normally it's easy flat out with these cars, the SS, but on the first lap, some may have to lift, and I'm just hoping nobody spins around, because that can lead to a disaster.
Yeah, it's very difficult to handle those sectors, especially if you're on those cold tires. One thing to keep in mind is that we've actually done quite a few races here on GSRC with Watkins Glen with GT cars recently, and quite a few of those started off with 3 or even 4 wide battles going into turn 1. That's something that they've recommended against in the administrators of the series have recommended against at the beginning of this race. Do you think the drivers are going to respect that?
I think they are, unless there is something, something really of a great opportunity, like 2 guys going too wide to the SS and maybe having to lift, and somebody gets a clean chance to pass, then yeah. But usually we've seen them respect the orange zone really well in this series, and these are some mighty good drivers.
All right, so as we get ready to go green here, the pace car will pull off quite quickly to the left side here, and that will free up Bruno Astori to start this race. Bruno's going to be flanked by Abner Acosta on the outside. They line up. Abner actually gets a little bit of a jump on Bruno, is going to cross the line first. Hopefully that won't be a penalty for him. So as they cross the start-finish line, it's actually Bruno ahead, so Abner had to back out of it. Here they go into turn 1. This is the scariest braking zone, especially on cold tires, cold brakes, cold everything. Looks like most of the drivers are through there clean. In the background, we have 3 wide and a wreck in the back. We'll keep track of that as we keep going up towards the S's.
Yeah, that's Miguel Lopez Torres and Ken Rodriguez involved in that one, as well as Javi Utrera, so everyone else getting through cleanly.
So as they head up towards the bus stop, another challenging braking zone. Looks like Alexis Acerbo looking up towards the inside of Abner Acosta, thinks better of it, gets back in line. That's actually going to bunch up the field behind them, but they are able to snake through the bus stop fairly cleanly. Most of the drivers doing so without clipping the grass there. Now they're going through the beautiful carousel. This is so beautiful seeing all these cars sweep through that bus stop there, but now we duck down to the Brute.
Yeah, we do duck down to the Brute, and we come to the infield section of the track, something NASCAR drivers never see, but these drivers will, and it's been a clean start so far. We've seen, a couple of cars off at the first corner, but nothing too major and no big damage from what I can see, so good job these guys, and here we see the orange zone and just how important it is.
Yeah, this keeps most of the drivers safe as they continue going on. The leaders all single file, just like was requested by the admins. Everyone just recommending to stay single file there and just play it safe on this first lap, making sure that we don't get any big incidents and spread out the field too much. The field all bunched together now, everyone under the blanket of about 10 seconds all the way back to the 26th position. So wow, this is just a big train of GT cars at this point.
It is a big train. We've seen some drivers going a little bit too wide here actually through the back, but other than that, we've seen, you know, great snake of cars as they come through the first lap, and I wonder if it's gonna pick up at this point in time now that we are no longer under the orange zone and they can actually start racing properly, or are those level motorsports guys in positions 1, 2, and 3 just going to run away with it and leaving everybody else in tear dust.
Well, speaking of that, Asturi is out to about an 8/10 lead, as well as a sort of about 8/10 between himself and Acosta. So Paulo Munoz is the first car challenging. We have quite a big bottle up going on in the background. That's Rodrigo Mies, who's trying to challenge Christopher Pfeffer, unable to do so. He's got Donnie Square behind him, trying to chase him through. These cars are getting very close together through the bus stop.
They are, and three guys who have been pretty good this season so far. Pfeffer, of course, driving maybe his best race in a while, already in P number 6 for this driver, for the RSR eSports driver. Rodrigo Mies in P number 7, Don Skirk in P number 8. So 3 drivers from 3 different teams, 3 different organizations, 3 different backgrounds, fighting it out with the same car, with the Ferrari. And so they are going to be hoping that Christopher Pfeffer can stick it up to the top 5 and can stay in draft with Michael Ross. Otherwise, they might be staying in this battle for P number 6 for quite a while. And look at this in the background, Rafael Ross as well. He's staying very close to the BMW.
Yeah, so Russo doing a good job sticking in with those guys. The BMW very difficult to handle on the new tire, on this updated tire model. It has been reported, but you know, Ocean, it's been really challenging. Every time I race at this track, I'm surprised how difficult it is to pass around here.
It is. It might look easy. You know, you got this long straight and it's a fast track and all, you just stay in the draft. And many people even call Watkins Glen a draft lock track. It is absolutely not a draft lock track with these cars in a field as tightly bunched as this one. And when you have no slow corners, no hairpins, oh, you got no passing zones as Squirk gets right behind Rodrigo Mies, who makes a mistake in turn number 1, goes a little bit too wide, going a little bit too aggressive on the exit, and that's going to slow him down. Also going to slow Squirk down because Mies was aggressive on the defense, manages to hold on to the position and allow Russo to get ever closer to Rodrigo and to Don as well.
In the background of that shot, you saw Lucas Bacigalupo making an attempt on Christian Eisler. He was able to get by in the bus stop, so he's up to 10th position now. So a couple of moves being made, and that's really the only place that you can really make a pass unless you catch someone off guard off of the last corner because of the amount of speed that you're able to carry through the S's. But as you saw, when you get into the draft behind a car, it seems like you just kind of lose a little bit of the arrow on the nose and can almost push you wide, and that's exactly what we saw with Squarick on Mies.
Yeah, you got big diffuser in these cars and the big wings as well. Now, these are no open wheelers, but you have some dirty air, definitely. Now, the draft is greater than dirty air, but at Watkins Glen, definitely, you will notice it in these fast corners, especially once the tires start wearing out. Now, I'm also watching battle in around P number 20 because we got an interesting pack. We got Juan Rivas Brea, we got Andres Espinosa, Jason Rimkus, Pablo Ribe, and Nick Utahag, as well as Kyle Streikarts being all up in the mix. And Streikarts and Utahag are pretty close right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. Strikers has been looking on the back of Utahag over this course of this lap. Utahag actually takes a really good exit out of the final corner, trying to pull a little bit of a gap on Strikers. I think it might be enough to keep him back there until turn 1. Looks like we did have a car come to pit lane. That's James Nunn. We'll take a look at that shortly.
Yeah, and Owen very wide on the exit for Utahag, definitely too wide. Carl Streikart's gonna catch into the SS, but this is a problem. It's just like Eau Rouge at Spa. This is a very similar place in that it's a fast corner. Now, this is not quite as uphill, of course, but you still got a long straight after it, and you don't want to catch somebody up to the SS. You want to catch them here, onto the straight, to have a chance of passing. Streikart's gonna try, but nothing doing there.
Yeah, Utahag just holds his line there, able to carry a lot of speed through the bus stop. Pretty impressive, to be honest, but Utahag actually getting a little bit slow coming out of the corner. He's going to carry way too much speed through the center of the carousel. This is going to allow Strikers to come back on the outside. Utahag's going to move over to the middle of the road, try and block that off there. Strikers going to try and power around the outside of that corner, but it is a constant radius turn. It does not open up, which means Strikers is not able to keep that locked into the car and ends up dropping down once again. We've had a wreck ahead of them, though. Horatio Calquin and J.R. Williams as they just go past them.
It was just a matter of we'll see a replay of that soon actually. But yeah, two-car wreck. Hopefully no big damage, as it seemed to be a very clumsy one, if I so may say. J.R. Williams just hitting the back of Glen, and both of them thankfully spinning out of the way. And here we see the replay. So you can see J.R. Williams coming behind Glen onto the corner, just onto the toe actually, and you know, just trying to brake a little bit too late on the inside.
Yeah, we're going to see it once again here from J.R. Williams. I think J.R. was just trying to carry more speed to the corner than Glen was planning on doing. That's what ended up getting him just a little bit too... He just kips the power just too much into it, ends up getting into the back of Glen, and it really just kind of pushes him along, unfortunately. So they're tucked up into the back of that pack, and we're going to jump up to the battle for the third position, because Acerbo is actually under heavy pressure from Munoz, and Ross is now tucked in right behind them as well.
And I can't help but wonder, because in the team standings, top two of each team score points. Now, I know a lot of the teams, we always speculate, we commentators always have the bad habit of speculating about team tactics. And then it turns out these guys just want to drive. I've been part of some big teams and, you know, we just wanted to drive. But I was always consciously thinking about team tactics. And when you look at this situation, Adam, you see Bruno Asturi, you see Abner Acosta, both from Level MotorSports, up in P number 1 and 2. Turbo Acerbo, P number 3, he's holding everybody back, while his teammates are just running away with a 1-2. I wonder, this is a bit too good to be, you know, coincidental. I think he's just trying to hold Munoz and Ross and everybody else a little bit back. Granted, I wouldn't put it past Acosta and Asturi to just beat his fast.
Yeah, but if I was in Acerbo's position, that's exactly what I would do, because I would think to myself, what's my job? My job is to score points in this race. And if those two guys, if I'm Acerbo and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this isn't my best track, I don't think I can beat them. What can I do to help my team? What can I do to feel good in this race and really feel like I have a job and was doing it well? I could be the rear gunner for my team.
Exactly, and that is a surprisingly difficult task. I've been doing it in a couple of World Cup events actually, and you know, sometimes earlier on I've been doing the rear gunner task, and you need to be conscious about where exactly are you going to be, you know, calm and consistent. Now, what he wants to do, Acerbo wants to do ideally, is to save a little bit of fuel here while he's defending, and look at the way he positions his car to the inside, not all the way, making it very difficult for Paulo Munoz, who is gonna break himself a little bit wide. Oh, and Acerbo actually makes a mistake. That's the one thing he needed to not do.
So Acerbo makes the mistake, Paulo Munoz goes through, and Ross around the outside of the carousel here is going to try and hold it there. Acerbo looks like he's got his tires a little bit hot there. Ross staying over to the inside of the corner is going to be able to cover off Acerbo there, but now this has brought up Christopher Pfeffer and Donnie Squarick, who are right in behind them as well, and they've brought Russo and Mies along too. This is 9th all the way up to 5th position now, under about 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very difficult time for Acerbo, because he probably overheated his tires just a little bit there. Now, an interesting side note, when you look at Michael Ross, currently sitting in 4th place, second in his pack, when he was driving through the chute, turning down from the carousel, he was tapping his brakes all the way throughout the corner, and here we see a replay as well, actually of the mistake. So you see both of the leaders of this pack braking very late, and you just, when you look at the Acerbo, he's just coming in too hot and he loses it a little bit. Great job saving it. Didn't overcorrect it, but gonna lose both of those positions. So, you know, that's just a tiny bit of an error. And you can see Acerbo not being happy with the car at all. He's losing time constantly to Munoz and to Michael Ross.
Yeah, that being said, he did provide a 4-second gap up to Abner Acosta that Munoz is going to have to close, but as you can see, Christopher Pfeffer actually dealing with a little bit of a troublesome race car as well. He's under heavy pressure from Don Square. He's going to tuck in right behind him and try and go around the outside, possibly coming through the S's. They're very close together here as they exit the S's. So Pfeffer now under heavy challenge here. Don might try and outbrake him into the... Here we go. Oh, it was very close between the two of them, but they managed to keep it together.
Yeah, and more importantly, Don actually getting past. You seldom see someone do that on the outside. You need to be so committed. You can't brake too late. And here, you just saw him, you know, chopping him off, basically. He just said to Pfeffer, look, I'm going to outbrake you and I'm going to take the racing line. That's exactly the way you need to do it. The problem is if you have some big bonehead on the inside who doesn't want to give into position, you're gonna have a contact because two cars can't exist on the same place at the same time.
Yeah, so everyone giving just enough room to make sure that happened cleanly up at the front of the pack. So once again, Bruno Story leading by about 1.8 seconds over Abner Acosta, who's got about 4.5 seconds over Paulo Munoz. Acosta going faster than Munoz at the moment. So it's big. It's very good pace from those two drivers up front, especially from Asturi, who's pulling away from both Acosta and Munoz by about a second a lap. So very impressive driving from him for sure.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what he needs to do at this point in time. Pulling away, putting in some good lap times. Asturi 145.1, Acosta 145.3. Then you got further behind them, Munoz 145.8. Now Michael Ross was able to catch up to Munoz a little bit on the last lap, actually doing the same lap time as Acosta on the second place, but he has the draft. So that definitely has an effect. And if I may speak about Michael Ross, I made a point earlier on, before there was that mistake by a Serbo, or after that rather, Michael Ross, he was tapping the brakes all the way through the chute corner. And that's something you don't see drivers doing very often. He was tapping 5-6 times in the middle of the corner, and he's trying to, keep the balance in the front of the car, trying to make the car turn in without turning the wheel too much. So that's the way he's trying to handle these tires that are wearing out in these vast heat. And here we see if he does it again, coming into the chute corner. Yeah, he's doing it again. This time 3 times in the corner. So he's trail braking, and he's also trying to keep the line very close as we jump to a battle for P number 8. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the battle for P8 between Rafael Russo and Rodrigo Mies. Mies actually struggling a little bit to keep that BMW in the track, really. Rodrigo Mies is putting a ton of pressure on him, and it's actually impressive that Russo still has that BMW up so far, considering how challenging that car is to drive around here. There's so many long sweeping corners, and the weight of the BMW can really put a ton of pressure on those tires. As you can see, every single one of these cars just a little bit loose coming through that uphill corner. That corner actually falls away from you, which makes it extremely hard to keep the power down without losing traction coming around there. So impressive stuff from all these drivers to keep that speed going.
And Adam, do you know why soccer players drive Ferraris?
I do not.
Because BMW has an anti-dive.
Well, in that case then, I believe we're going to see quite a bit of good racing from all of these drivers as we keep going. But as you were mentioning, Paulo Munoz has been being caught by Michael M. Ross for that 3rd spot. Ross putting in some very good laps right now in that Ford. That Ford is really showing its legs at the moment.
It is, and it was the favorite heading into this round of the championship as well, because the Ford is very good. It's got a good straight line speed, not quite as good top end as Ferrari, mind you, because the Ferrari has really a lot of torque in the 6th gear, in the highest gear, so it's able to just pull away on the really fast tracks. But Watkins Glen, you got so many high-speed corners, so the downforce of that Ford GTE, it is just working in its favor, and it can be so fast with huge diffuser in the rear, with working aerodynamics and that sleek shape. It's just so fast corners that you can really see from Michael Ross what he can do here and how he's able to catch up to Paulo in those fast corners. Now overtaking, that might be a completely different thing, but he's definitely working with Paulo here. And I'm curious to see whether it's actually going into a battle or whether Michael is thinking, my best bet is probably to save fuel.
Big wreck between Luis Payne Jr. and Kyle Stryker as they were battling side by side for about half a lap ever since the bus stop, and they came together in the heel of the boot here.
Yeah,
we're going to watch the whole battle develop here as they go up the hill towards the bus stop.
Yeah, that we are. So it's a very typical battle so far. They're going to go side by side, and they're going to go through the bus stop side by side as well. And great job, keeping it too wide through here. That's the first thing. Great job keeping it too wide, but then, as the battle continues, I think up to the inside, you can see a great crossover move there, and Adam just, that's where it's going to be going all very wrong soon.
Yeah, and it definitely is. You can see it here as they come towards the heel of the boot. You're going to see it's just going to end up being them getting held up a little bit here. And you'll just see the little bit of a bump there, and that ends up turning him. And they end up getting together, and wow, it just flips him completely upside down.
Yeah, and that's so easy to do. You miss the braking point just a little bit and you're gonna slide wide. No chance for him to keep his car on the inside there, but that's still his mistake completely. And, you know, Louis Palm Jr. even going sorry there, and for a good reason. But, you know, just two cars ending into the wall, and the problem is when somebody pushes you into the wall like that, there is nothing you can do. You're a total passenger, and that's the situation where you really know that, okay, your race is over, and can just, you know, hit the wall very hard, and you're quite fortunate. Only thing you're happy about at that point is that it's a sim race.
Well, as you were saying, Alexis Acerbo was not happy with his car, and you can see the evidence of that here. This is a 5-car train, all tucked in behind 5th place. Alexis Acerbo really struggling on pace. While we were in that replay, Michael M. Ross was able to make the pass on Paul Munoz. It was not a very dramatic pass, just happening up towards the bus stop there. Ross able to get by and is now free and clear by about 1 second. But this battle here, this has a lot of drama written all over it.
Oh yeah, it has. Especially depending on how aggressively Acerbo decides to defend his position. Does he want to go full fight mode early on? Squirrel gonna look, reactive move actually from Acerbo to the inside of turn number 1. Squirrel gonna hit him, and that's a great save from Acerbo, not going spinning there. But Squirrel gonna catch up to him all the way to the SS. Then we have Pfeffer, we have Musa, and we have Mies as well. And normally I would say Pfeffer is in the popcorn position, the 3rd place in a draft like this, but you really have nowhere to breathe in this train. Squirrel gonna look to the outside, but he's a little bit too early. I think Acerbo should be able to defend this.
Yeah, but how slow is that going to make them? Oh, a little bit of door-to-door contact as they go through. That's going to allow Sperrick to go through. That's going to hold up Pfeffer as Acerbo had to go wide there. And here comes Russo through in that BMW. Rodrigo Mies unable to capitalize on that. So Pfeffer, wow, that's going to just reshuffle everybody. So we have Squarick up to 5th, Acerbo 6th, Russo in 7th, Pfeffer 8th, and Rodrigo Mies in 9th position, but don't think that this is over because Pfeffer and Russo are not done battling between one another. Pfeffer frustrated with the amount of contact that there was there. He's going to try and make the move on Russo as soon as he can.
Yeah, there was just a little bit of contact at the exit of the corner, and now Acerbo, he wasn't braking late enough for the bus stop for some reason. He was ahead on the inside. He would have cleared him, but he wasn't braking late enough. Pfeffer, meanwhile, going a little bit wide further back, and he's making a mistake there, and just under braking, you know, his own mistake, and he had to lock up the brakes to avoid hitting Rafael Russo. So you can definitely see tire wear coming to effect, and these drivers, I think Acerbo definitely struggling with the tires, Pfeffer starting to struggle with the tire heat as well, and I wonder who has it the best.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, but just an update on our leader. He is still 3 seconds ahead of Acosta, but that used to be 4.4, so Acosta now is gaining a little bit of time, but they've gapped Michael M. Ross by 8 seconds, so that's quite a long way back to the 3rd place driver. So they're almost getting to the point where they've got about half a pit stop built up, which means that you might even be able to consider taking tires if you think that that might be something you want to do.
Yeah, and you know, that's a very interesting point because they got such a big lead. You might think, why not? Now, usually we don't take tires in this series. You don't take tires in a 1-hour race, but it's so hot and the conditions are so difficult, and we're already seeing drivers making mistakes due to tire wear with 20 minutes gone. You might consider it at some point in time. Not yet, but if you have the gap, if you can think you can make it work, then why not? And you might even, you know, throw one of them to the walls and, you know, have one guy take tires from the team and the other not take.
We had a off track from Nick Utenhag, who actually looks like he just went off by himself here in the bus stop. We're going to see this here. I think this is just a classic Porsche rear brake bias problem we see happen with these cars pretty often with these machines. Let's see what happens here.
What happens? He brakes too late, and then he hits a bump, and then he spins out. It's pretty simple when you explain it like that, but yeah, that's what happens when you brake too late with the Porsche. You have no way to bring it back, absolutely no way. Like, at that point, he's a passenger, and he's got Javi Utreras in front of him, so he's just ending up in the wall, hard leak, and that's race over, sadly, for Nick Utenhag. And that's just one little mistake, one lapse of concentration, and it's all over. That goes to show you how you know, difficult this track can be, how much of a cruel mistress it can be, even if people sometimes think, you know, Watkins Glen is easy. No, it's not.
38.5 minutes to go, and I really thought that Squarick was going to be able to run away with this 5th place, but Acerbo in that yellow machine just he's clinging to the back of him with such ferocity. But here's Russo with a decent run through the S's. Let's see whether or not he decides to challenge Acerbo through the bus stop. This can be really challenging for BMW to try and make a move. Very early braking from Acerbo. That almost catches Russo out. Here comes Rodrigo Mies with a decent run through the bus stop, but that's just going to hold both of them up and create a gap.
I wonder if the problem with the Acerbo is, at this point in time, as Mies is trying to get past Rafael Russo, I wonder if the problem for Acerbo is that he's got the car set up too oversteery. The front is a little bit too bitey, so when he's running behind someone like this, when he's in the dirty air and that takes the air away from the front, the balance is actually better for him when it's a little bit more understeery, and that's why he's struggling on the braking, and that's why he's struggling when leading a pack.
Yeah, it can be really challenging, and I know for a fact Alexis Acerbo is probably very conscious about locking up those front tires because that's what caused him to lose that. Ooh, look at this. That's Square getting a little bit off track there, coming through the right-hander at the toe of the boot. So that's going to be a little bit problematic for him, but Acerbo can't capitalize on it. But if Acerbo is thinking about trying to adjust the brake bias backwards, that's just going to make the car even looser for him under braking. But he definitely doesn't want to lock up the fronts because that means you start to lose compound and grip on that front tire that really gives you the traction. We see a little bit of shade coming over the track. It's down quite a bit since the beginning of the race. We're down to 103 on track for track temperature, 39 degrees Celsius for these drivers. So starting to get down to a more fun racing temperature, I assume.
Yeah, more fun. No AC for these drivers either, mind you. So it's still pretty hot there, and in case somebody's wondering, 31 degrees Celsius, air temp 39 degrees Celsius, track temp, as Acerbo is getting a good run on Skurk. However, he can't brake too late, and Skurk knows that. He actually went to the middle of the track and not even bothering to defend the inside there because he knows Acerbo can't outbrake him. That's great awareness by Skurk, because normally you would never do that. Never, ever, 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 ever leave the inside line open like that. That's just an invitation, even if there is no room. That's an invitation, go ahead, go there. And that's going to lead to an accident. But this time Skurk, he knew Acerbo can't brake late enough. So he was leaving it open, being confident that there is not going to be a move, and as such being able to carry a bit more speed through the corner. So great awareness by Don Skurk.
Yeah, we just had a door-to-door moment between Miguel A. Lopez-Torres and Liam Jenkins for the 22nd position going through the bus stop. If we could get a short replay of this, just a little bit ago coming through that sector.
Yeah, and here we see them fighting it on, coming towards the bus stop, going to the outside, pretty typical stuff, and then heading into the corner, and oh yeah, just a little bit of a nip and tuck, and you get your way through. And that's something that happens so easy on the bus stop. When neither driver wants to give in, both of them want to go side-by-side through there. Many people say it's impossible to go side-by-side through there without contact. No, that's a lie. It is possible, but you need cooperation. And obviously, when you're fighting with a red mist descending upon your eyes for a position, there is no cooperation. There is just racing. And thankfully, no big contact. Nobody was sent spinning. Just a little bit of touch, and away they go.
I think Acerbo might be under challenge once again by Rafael Russo. This is for P6 going up through the S's. Russo with a decent head of steam. Acerbo trying to decide where to go. He is fairly indecisive there. I think Russo is going to try and outbrake Acerbo here, but Acerbo able to get down to the apex. That's going to start to get old for Russo after a couple laps if Acerbo keeps being indecisive like that.
Yeah, he was sort of leaving it up in the middle, blocking the inside and being confident there was no room to the inside. But I don't think Acerbo realized that there was enough room on the inside. Just enough. Just one car width. But that is enough, and that's not something you want to do normally unless you know the driver. Now I wonder if Acerbo knows that Rafael Russo is not going to go into such a tiny space.
Oh, Felipe Ruiz goes around, and this is coming downhill into the... Oh, wow, he was having trouble all the way coming out of the carousel.
Yeah, so here we see him coming out of the carousel, actually, heading in towards the next corner, and yeah, he went wide exiting the carousel, then he comes into the next corner and just loses it on the braking, yeah. And Then he did the worst mistake. He overcorrected it when he got loose. He didn't two-foot it, he overcorrected it and ended up side and rear first into the wall, and that's gonna damage the rear end of that Ferrari, and as a result of that, Felipe Luis is in the wall. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why you learn two-foot magic saving. And two-foot braking as well, two-foot saving rather than two-foot braking. Don't two-foot brake, that's not too good of an idea.
Yeah, it's really challenging to try and recover a car from that position. Sometimes it is better to just lock it up and hope that the car doesn't hit the wall. But yeah, the two-footing it ends up giving the car multiple inputs that end up helping, especially with these cars that have a little bit of traction control involved. It can actually help the car, the computers, help you stabilize if you play your cards right.
Yeah, because of the traction control, it's very, 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 very difficult to save these cars when you get sideways, when you get loose, because unless you're very fast on the cutoff button, which not many people have the consciousness or the presence of mind to do, to cancel the TC when you get loose. So, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but you want to set up the TC so that it allows you to get a little bit of wheel spinning, otherwise it's just too intrusive and it slows you down too much. So, you have to still have a bit of throttle control with these things. And once it starts to get loose, you can just feel it ending into the slowest spin ever. And what you need to do there, and that's a driving tip, a free driving tip for everybody at home watching and every sim racer as well. Keep about halfway off the throttle. Don't let off the throttle completely. Most of these cars are mid-engine, so that's gonna upset the car even more. And then slam the brakes, halfway or over halfway through, and keep the steering wheel straight. And once it corrects, you can just start bleeding off the brake once again and driving normally. And keep in mind that the tires are gonna be very hot after you do that. So be careful for the next couple of corners. But you can practice that all by yourself. Get into a situation where you get in a little bit of loose and then just, instead of lifting the throttle, slam the brakes. That should be your first reaction.
One driver with very hot rear tires is Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, who is trying to make a pass on Juan Rivas Brea, and they got quite close coming through the heel of the boot. But unfortunately, Uribe spun his rear tires there and just has not been able to gain the time back. So as they go up through the S's, he's lost a bunch of time to Brea, and so that's put him back farther. This was the battle for 16th position.
Yeah, and that's not gonna be great for Uribe at all. He's trying to catch back up, but nothing doing there. However, he's able to position that Porsche pretty nicely to this bus stop chicane, so he's definitely having good consistent lines, does Pablo. He doesn't maybe have quite enough speed at this point in time, but his lines are very good, and that's giving me hope that Pablo is gonna gain some positions as we come to the later portions of this event. And consistent good lines and being a little bit careful means you usually have a little bit more rubber left towards the end, as right ahead of them we have a bit of a situation developing between Ignacio Hortal, Ted Lowendick and Andres Espinosa. These three have been close together for quite a while, and as usually with battles like this, you got the driver third in the pack, so in the last place of that pack being actually fastest of the three.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people say that this is a draft-locked track. But that being said, if that was the case, then Bruno Astori would not be 4 seconds ahead of Abner Acosta and consistently pulling ahead, considering Acosta and Michael Rossi separated by 5 seconds as well. But this battle here for the 13th position is a decent one. They've been battling for quite a while, and Hortal's actually been falling back just a little bit from Eduardo Avila Gak ahead of them.
Yeah, and one thing to note is that Andres Espinosa, who is in that car number 87, started all the way back from P number 24 and has clawed his way to 15th and is now looking at 14th and 13th. So Espinosa been able to drive a very consistent, very good race, keep his head cool, and that car, the Ferrari, looks to be in tip-top condition as well. A little bit of dirt in the front, but that's never hurt anybody. So, extra weight doesn't matter at this point in time. So, he's got things going pretty well for him as we jump to a battle for P number 5, I do believe.
Yeah, this is Squaric and Acerbo. Acerbo actually made an attempt going through the bus stop, and here's Russo now tucked in right behind them, and that slowed both Squaric and Acerbo up, so they're both very close. They're all three very close together, and they've got Mies just about 5/10 behind them as well. So Acerbo looks like he's driving reactionarily to Squaric. And we did have our first pit stop. That was Ken Rodriguez. It was a scheduled stop. Ended up being 15 seconds at the box, 38.5 on pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not anyone else comes this time, whether any of these drivers come. I can let you know that our leaders did not come all the way through Squaric, so Squaric will be the next one to possibly take a pit stop, but he goes by, Acerbo goes by, and so does Russo.
Yeah, and so they're not pitting yet, they don't want to pit just yet, 65% fuel limited, they'll be able to run roughly 40 minutes with this fuel, a little bit under 40 minutes maybe, depending on their pace, and the GD meta, the fastest tactic with a GD car is always to pit as late as possible so you can make the stop as short as possible. Now, of course, there is a couple of, and you can also not only as short as possible, but you're also able to run with the light fuel load with slightly better tires.
Well, Acerbo's going to have another go here at Squaric as he tries to go around the outside here. Squaric being very defensive through the bus stop chicane. This is going to give an opportunity for Acerbo coming through the carousel here. Looks like Acerbo trying to get a better run off of the corner, but Squaric putting his car exactly where he needs to keep Acerbo behind. In these declining temperatures, Ocean, it looks like Acerbo's got a lot better grip out there and is able to put it down. Squaric a little bit loose, clips a little bit of the apex there and bumps off of that inside curb. Acerbo quite strong at this stage in the race.
Yeah, he is, and he's feeling confident right now behind Squaric. I wonder if it's because he's in a little bit of a dirtier, and you got the colder temps, both working for his particular setup. Maybe he was expecting slightly lower track temps than it turned out to be. Whatever may be the case, Acerbo certainly looking quite fast once again here. However, it might be too little too late in terms of his podium hopes, but top 5 certainly a possibility depending on how fast he can actually get past Squaric and how well he can hold on to behind him. However, Rafael, Russo, Rodrigo, Mies, and Pfeffer as well. He's not, well, okay, maybe not Pfeffer, but Mies and Russo, they're not going to make it easy either. So we got interesting battle actually. We got 3 different brands and 4 different drivers. So we got a Ferrari in 5th, we got a BMW, we got a Ford, excuse me, in 6th, and we got a BMW in 7th.
Yeah, and actually Mies has not been able to keep up with these guys when they've been single file. As soon as they start battling, he's able to close back in, but I don't think Acerbo's quite close enough this time with Squaric pulling up ahead. He will definitely try and make another move. He's trying to keep Squaric on his toes here, but Don has been positioning his car in the same place every single lap and has been able to hold off Acerbo. He takes a little bit of a swing to the outside heading into the bus stop, manages to keep the car going straight. But that car's looking fairly loose under braking. It's only going to take a slight moment for something to happen here, but Acerbo very close, tucked in behind him. He's going to actually try and make an inside move here. He's going to outbrake him going into the boot. Oh, a little bit of contact there. He's going to move Squaric out of the way. I don't think Squaric's going to appreciate that very much. Oh, they're making contact once again, almost sending Acerbo around. Squaric's going to go around the outside and make contact. He spins him! Acerbo off track!
And that's on Squaric, I do believe. I'm sorry, Don. That's just you don't do that. Even if you make contact in the previous corner, look, it's gonna start a couple of corners back. Already they come alongside each other in the carousel. And Acerbo's gonna get a great run off the exit of this corner. Watch him come to the inside. A very late opportunistic move. Squaric left the door open, but Squaric also pinched him quite a lot. There was barely a car width for Acerbo. So there was contact, Acerbo getting through, Acerbo moving a little bit towards the middle, and then just, Squaric braking a little bit later. You're gonna see a little bit of a touch there to the rear corner first and then to the rear, and that's just gonna spin Acerbo around. So that was a little bit dirty from Don Squaric, I do believe.
Shades of Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. Squaric, though, retaining that 5th position. Alexis Acerbo all the way down to 11th. It looks like Eduardo Avila Gach will be our next pit taker. He comes into the pits from the 10th position and is able to come into the pits, as well as Pablo Vanzuela Uribe coming into the pits as well. But this battle's still not over between these guys. This is the battle, I believe, between Bacigalupo and Pfeffer for 8th position.
Yeah, it is. And Pfeffer and Bacigalupo, those guys, are now starting to maybe gain positions. They saw a car spin around and thinking, okay, they're battling ahead of us. What do we do? Do we battle each other or do we try and maybe catch up to them? So far, so good for Pfeffer and Basigalubo. Nothing doing there, however, and well, not too close. Meanwhile, further ahead of them, Skirk, Russo, and Mies. Now Mies has caught right up to Rafael Russo, and he's looking suddenly quite fast as the sun shows itself from behind the clouds once more.
Yeah, it looks like Russo in that BMW once again struggling to get that car stopped through the corners. Is very neutral, it looks like, in the center of the corner, which can be really challenging to handle. You can see him going through the corner right there. He's very loose, sliding through the center. So these cars starting to show their tire wear at this point. Russo way off of the apex there. Mies is smelling blood in the water.
He is, and we also got P number 2 in the pit lane. No, we don't. Excuse me.
It's
was showing
third,
momentarily
actually.
for P number 2. Yeah, so, you know, Don Skirk, meanwhile, Russo and Mies battling, and Mies smelling blood in the water, but he's not able to quite get a good enough of a run off the last corner. However, if he's clever, he's leaving just a tiny bit of gap before they come to the S's and hoping that he can catch up to that big boy BMW on a straight line. However, I don't think it's gonna happen here. Not on the following straight. And maybe these drivers at this point they're thinking, okay, we got just a couple of laps onto our pit stop. Before our pit stop, we're gonna pit there, and then after the pit stop, we can continue battling. But the position gained here, well, that might not be as important as some of the viewers may think, because these guys may have differences in fuel strategy, how much they've been saving, and you know, if you gain the position now, take the risk, lose time, only to then lose it in the pit lane, it's gonna be a bit of a moot point.
Yeah, and Michael M. Ross just taking his pit stop from the third position. Quite a few dominoes falling at this point, but it turns out that some of the drivers who pitted beforehand are actually gaining some decent positions on those who just pitted. Pfeffer up to 14th. Michael M. Ross is our fastest pitter, up to 12th position, so he's out in traffic. He's got Javi Utreras up ahead of him, so he's gonna have to make a pass in order to try and make this work. That's gonna be a challenge for him, tucked in behind the other 4 GTE traffic, but Utreras actually makes a mistake there, so Ross is gonna try and make a move on the outside here. Utreras moves over to try and cover him off, and Ross now getting held up by the slower car. Ooh, and our leader into the pits from the lead. Acosta's going to go through.
Yeah, so Asturi, he wasn't saving any fuel at all. He's coming into the pit lane. I wonder, Munoz is coming into the pit lane from P number 3 as well. What is Don Skirk going to do? Is he going to stay in, come in, or stay out? Don Skirk, he's coming in. Russo coming in. Mies coming in. Eisler is coming in as well. So we got everybody nearly pitting. Acerbo, however, yeah, he's coming in as well. So the only driver managing to stay out so far is Abner Acosta, who is going in for another lap. And I wonder, has he been really saving this much fuel, or was it maybe a little bit of a mishap, or maybe a bit of a risk to try and close in some of that gap that Bruno Asturi got onto him?
Well, he was able to stay out for another lap, and he was losing time to Asturi throughout that entire sector. Now, Asturi's going to come out of the pits and come out. He's going to be quite a bit ahead of Ross. He gained about 4 seconds in pit lane from pitting after him. So this will be interesting. Even though Ross actually got a 13.7 second stop, which is faster than Asturi, he was longer in the pit lane than Asturi was.
P number, Mies, Skirk, and Russo now. This is going to be wild because Russo got past them on the pit lane and they're going to almost go 3 wide. They're going to go 3 wide into this chicane. But Russo braking very late, going very aggressive turn, able to hold on. However, Skirk gets a great exit at him.
That is fantastic driving from all of them. But we're going to take a look at this replay here as they went 3 wide, headed towards the bus stop. But each of them deciding that they were going to back out of it before, and Russo just taking advantage of that opportunity. Russo up ahead of each of these guys. They didn't end up changing positions after all this.
No, they did not in the end, but that was a mighty show of intent from all of these 3 guys, and great job for not coming into contact there. So this battle is going to continue. However, Russo, Skirk, and Mies still in that order. Now they've done their pit stops. They're fueled all the way to the end, hopefully. So we don't see what happened last week, you know, with Bruno Asturi. Hopefully no repetition of that. Hopefully they are fueled in all the way to the end. And that means it is go time and it is battle time.
Acosta in pit lane. He's not going to be able to beat Asturi out. He comes out in the second position up ahead of Michael M. Ross. So Asturi out well clear. He's going to be about 7 seconds clear of Acosta by the time everything sorts out. So Asturi quite a bit up the road from Acosta. Michael M. Ross tucked in behind him at about 7 seconds.
Yeah, so things staying as they were pretty much, and what a great race these two guys. Now, time to show some appreciation for leaders as well, as Russo, Skurk, and Mies is calming down just a little bit, so we can afford to do that. I mean, what a race from all these guys. Bruno Asturi, he's been leading all the way from the start, had that great qualifying, and he's being able to transform that into a great performance. He's been the fastest driver of this series so far, and I hope he fueled enough to make it all the way to the end this time. And Abner Acosta, our multi-time champion, being more of a wingman in this race, but not a bad one either. So they've been definitely very, very diligent with their setup work at Level Motorsports, being able to find the right setup, being able to make that car work even with the new tire coming in on race day. And this just goes to show you that they are maybe not quite head and shoulders, but at least a nose above the rest of this field.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they're showing their colors today with the amount of time that they've been able to put on the field, and maybe a little bit of team play going on from the unfortunately now sent back driver who has raced in third place for them for so long and now sent to the back of the pack. But fortunately for all of them, everyone's still driving forward as Alexis Acerbo still stuck in 11th position after the pit stops.
Yeah, he is, and he's got Eduardo Gach behind him. A couple of seconds back, and more crucially for Acerbo, he's really got nobody in front of him that he can realistically catch. Christian Eisler, he's sitting in 10th place. He's 5 seconds ahead of him. So it's really gonna be an uphill struggle for Acerbo, and I wonder if Acerbo's also a little bit, losing motivation for this particular race. It's always a heavy acquisition, which is why we make it sparingly. But I can understand him if he's just cruising and bringing the car home at this point when you're sitting in on 11th place. You've got very little chance to catch anybody, and you just want to make it to the end. However, I will say this: Acerbo was 6 tenths faster last time by than both Basiga Lubo and Christian Eisler, and the gap is 5 seconds, and we still got 16 minutes on the clock. So maybe it's not over yet.
I can report that Andres Espinosa came in for a splash of fuel, did not get the calculation right on his first stop. Unfortunately, he's going to be out there trying to get that fuel number right, and he's going to drop all the way back down to 22nd position as we continue to look at this battle for 5th position between Russo, Squeric, and Mies. And Mies has been looking very feisty, but once again, he can't seem to close where it counts most, which is through the corners, because you need to be close. Ooh, there's a little bit of a lockup from on the front right from Squeric. That's going to give Mies an opportunity. Once again, smelling blood in the water, but he hasn't been able to make anything of it so far. Can he do it this time?
Well, I surely hope so in terms of Rodrigo Mies. He's a very fast driver. He's a very calm driver usually also. A little bit unlucky last season, but he showed shades of top 3 pace, maybe even race winning pace on some events. However, on these last couple of corners, once again, losing maybe a bit of time due to the dirty air, and Don Skurk is able to run away with it just a little bit. And look at Rafael Russo in that BMW. So many people said it's a very difficult car to drive. He's en route to a top 5, lapping 145.3s. He is faster than Paulo Munoz. He is faster than Michael Ross. He is 1/10 of our race leading duo with a BMW. Rafael Russo, the Brazilian, really on a form here.
Yeah, the Brazilian proving that it doesn't matter what car you drive as long as the wheelman behind it is good. At least in specs in a series like this where they have a good balance of performance. Everyone was wondering what the questions were going to be coming into this race were what was the tire going to do and what was the balance of performance going to do to the competition. And Russo is proving that the balance of performance is still not too far off.
No, not at all. And in fact, he's doing better than he was earlier on. He's been staying loyal to that BMW that netted him a couple of finishes outside the top 10 last season. And even early on this season, he was at the opening round at Interlagos on his home track. He maybe had a chance for top 10 until he got unlucky. Last week, he showed a decent performance this week. However, he's in a world of his own, and Rafa Russo, showing some of the best form he has showed in a while. And certainly, once we move on to tracks which are less of a Ford GD fest, once we move out of Watkins Glen, this man could very well put his name in the hat where the podium finishers are going to be drawn from.
And here's where Mies seems to lose a lot of time is the exit of the final corner where Squarick is able to pull ahead, but it looks like Mies got a decent exit that time around. And he's going to be able to challenge Squarick into the first corner. Now, if Mies can get a decent run out of this corner and up through the S's, he might be able to get a pass done, but Squarick able to get a much better exit. A little bit earlier braking from Squarick, but he was able to carry more speed through turn 1. And looks like he's going to be able to pull away here and keep Mies tucked in behind him. Another battle I've been keeping my eye on is the battle for 14th between Ted Lowendick and Pablo Valenzuela Uribe. And they've now got Juan Rivera's Brea tucked in behind them as well. These guys have been battling tooth and nail for the last couple laps.
Yeah, and you also used to have Andreas Espinosa in that battle. However, Espinosa, as we mentioned earlier, made that fuel calculation error earlier on, and what a heartbreak for him. He started 24th, made his way all the way up to 15th, and only to screw up his fuel calculation, drop back to 21st, but that's just racing for you. Uribe makes a bit of a mistake going through the bus stop, and that means Lowendick is gonna run a little bit away from him at this point in time. Lowendick, usually being a consistent finisher just outside the top 10, has not been able to elevate himself within the top 10 just yet, but it's a tough series, and certainly heading for another good point scoring finish here. However, Uribe and Brea, I think they're gonna try to pass him all the way to the end. Well, of course, it's a motor race. But, what a genius.
And we just saw a very close moment there between Squarick and Mies as Mies tried to take Squarick on the slowest corner of the course. Very challenging move to try and complete, was unable to do so, but Mies definitely trying to put some heavy pressure here on Squarick as we close in towards the final 11 minutes of this race. We're just past 12 minutes now as they cross the line. Squarick in 6th, Mies in 7th place.
Yeah, and Mies is thinking, okay, I can't stick behind him in the fast last couple of corners, but he's maybe got more mechanical grip. He's feeling more confident in the slow corners of the track, and that's where he's trying to make his move. And also, he's sending a message to Don Skurek right now. He's sending a message. Don't just think about the back straight. Don't think that the bus stop is the only place where you are in trouble. You are in trouble everywhere, all over the track, my friend. And he's gonna want to send Skurek into the defensive mode. He's gonna send Skurek into the battle mode, and he's gonna force Skurek to defend some of those corners that he wasn't previously defending, to screw up his exit, and as a result of that, set up the pass, maybe to the penultimate corner, maybe to that corner we were just talking about, turn number 10, maybe even some of these heel and toe corners. He's trying to challenge him everywhere, get closer, and as a result of that, work his overtake in a far more methodical manner instead of just sending it into the bus.
Yeah, and so Mies, it's so difficult if you're Don to try and keep your head on straight when it comes to these kinds of moments, because one of the things you have to realize is that the best way to defend the guy behind you is to go faster. And that may seem obvious, but it's really counterintuitive when you're driving out of your mirror. The best thing you can do is catch the guy ahead of you in order to try and defend, if you're intent on defending that position. Because if you keep racing defensively and trying to put your car where you need it to be to defend the guy behind you, you're going to end up losing time and keep him attached to your rear bumper. That being said, if you look out the front window and try and attack the guy ahead of you, you can oftentimes get very, very close to the guy ahead of you and end up passing him, which puts a car between you and the man challenging you. It's the whole notion of eyes forward.
Exactly, and it's kind of like in a boxing match. You can't win a boxing match by having your guard up and defending all the time. Now, how do you get a punch through in a boxing match? You can, if you're in a boxing match outside of the local bar at 4 a.m., you may be able to hit that one big haymaker punch. Don't do it. We don't want violence here, but just an example. You may be able to hit that huge haymaker, but in a boxing match, you can't hit that huge haymaker on the guy. There's no way it's gonna hit, without you setting it up first. You need a jab, you need some feints. And in motor racing, it's exactly the same. You can't send that one big move. You can't expect it to work. You need to set it up somehow. You need to look to the inside, look to the outside. You need to feint a little bit. And how do you jab in a motor race? You send it up to the inside a little bit. You try in a manner half-hearted almost. You test the waters, and then are you able to land that big combination or that one big punch, that one big pass? And when you're defending, you can't just be guarding all the time. You need to jab back. You need to not, just close up every time on the inside. You need to have some pace. You need to have something to fight back with. And well, what can you do when the other person is punching? When you see the big punch coming, you counter punch. You meet his punch, you're gonna make him miss, and you're gonna make him pay. And how do you counter punch in motor racing? Crossover.
P14 still looking good between Ted Lowendick and Pablo Valenzuela Uribe. And Lowendick looking like he's starting to crumble a little bit under the pressure. As you just said, that whole idea of how do you set up a pass, it's all about setting it up multiple corners ahead of time. And you can tell that Uribe is getting into Lowendick's head, because Lowendick moving across during that straightaway to try and break Uribe's draft. Uribe not playing the game.
Oh! Yeah, ooh. Sorry, that was very close from Rodrigo Mies. He tried to the inside of Skirk. He was actually halfway to the inside and had to lock up the brakes just a little bit.
Yeah, this was a very tense moment, and Mies actually had to really, like you said, lock up the brake and crank the wheel all the way to the right in order to try and stay away from Squarick there.
Yeah, he was driving into a closing door there. You can see him committing to the pass, being a little bit too far back, and Skirk just not giving him room, instead defending. Well, he was kind of feeling that he's entitled to turn into that corner. And oftentimes, Adam, people talk about corner rights. I'm not a believer in corner rights. Corner rights are not something that exists in my mind. People say that, okay, if you're not clearly alongside me, if you're not by my door, then, you have no right to, have room in the corner. You're not entitled to the space. Here is a little bit of a fact for the people who think that you need to be X amount alongside in order to be entitled to space. If two cars are going side by side into a corner, and one of the cars closes the door, there is going to be an accident. And it doesn't matter whether you are in the right when you're observing the rest of the race from the top of the tire wall. The fact is that you need to, all the time, you have to leave a space. That's what Fernando Alonso said, and that's about the only reasonable thing that ever came out of that man's mouth. So there.
So Rodrigo Mies now trying to make a challenge here on Don Squarick. Once again, he's closing in, but unable to get close enough by the time they hit the bus stop. Squarick looking a little bit rough through the bus stop. This gives an opportunity to Mies. Mies might try a similar move that we saw, from before that happened on Acosta here. He's thinking about it, but he decides not to do it this time by. They're going to get very close together. And it's very challenging for each of these drivers. As you said about corner rights, that's one place where me and the FIA disagree, and that I think that if you're alongside the guy at any point, he's got to leave your room. Otherwise, if he goes off and you end up continuing on, I don't know who else to blame.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I'm not accusing Skirk of doing anything wrong there, but he was pretty aggressive in chopping him off, and Mies at the same time probably realized that they're racing pretty hard right now, and he's not gonna be just given the space. And why would Skirk give him the space exactly? But I was just mentioning that Skirk was plenty aggressive in his defense and in the attack earlier on, having a bit of contact. So he's pretty much into this. He's in 6th place, Mies is in 7th, and he wants to hold on to the position. However, I think we are going to see a bit of a boxing match. As I made those comparisons earlier on, they might come more true than I initially anticipated as we head towards the last 5 minutes of this race. And Mies, once again, he's getting a chance because Skirk, he was apexing way too early in the corner, running a little bit wide.
So Mies has a fantastic run. He's trying to maximize it as they go through the S's. He will have an opportunity here as long as he doesn't get blocked off by Squaric here. He moves to the outside right as they exit the S's. They're going to go side by side here. Let's see what Squaric does here. Mies and Squaric going to go through here side by side. No contact between it. Squaric bails out.
Yeah, Squaric had to bail out there. He was trying, all credit to him, he was trying up until the last moment, but Mies was just stronger, and Mies wasn't going an inch too wide either. He kept his line, he kept it true, and made it work in a brilliant fashion. And just feast your eyes on this, Adam.
Yeah, this is great racing between the two of them, and Squaric actually probably could have stuck with it there because Mies was giving him all the room that he needed on the outside, but Squaric just did not feel confident about turning in through the middle of that corner.
Yeah, the thing is, what undid Squaric there, or what was his downfall in that battle, was that he was actually pinching Mies a little bit too much on the entry of the corner. So he was too close, realized that he had to cancel turning in, he had to straighten his wheel there, and as a result of that, he just couldn't keep it, couldn't keep it alongside, couldn't have the momentum. He had to straighten it out and bail out of the battle. Now, is Squaric gonna have a chance to come back at Mies at the final laps of this event? He might have, because he has the draft now. However, Mies not only was able to get through, but also made a little bit of a gap as Squaric had to bail out of that one. So it is an uphill battle for Squaric, but this might not be quite over yet. As we see Espinosa once again coming into the pit lane and coming out of the pit lane as well. That's an interesting one.
Well, this is Espinosa's fourth time through the lane, and that would have been his fifth pit stop for extra fuel. So unfortunately, Espinosa getting the fuel calculations quite wrong this time, but Pablo Valenzuela Uribe right on the back of Ted Lowendick, he cannot possibly... He can't seem to get by. He can't figure out where to get it done, and the Porsche just not with enough traction off of the corners. That being said, Lowendick taking it very wide through turn one. Uribe might have the best shot he's had all race here.
Yeah, he might indeed, and you look at Uribe here, he has a choice. Lowendick is gonna defend the inside probably. Yeah, he's sticking to the inside. Uribe gonna follow him all the way through and then go to the outside, past the groove in the middle of the track. He doesn't have quite a run, but they are side by side heading towards the corner. However, Lowendick actually left him space. That's great to see. However, Uribe not quite brave enough to use that space, but that's gonna be something. If Pablo Uribe, I don't know him well enough to know that if he's a thinking driver or not, but if he's a thinking driver, if he's a driver with a sound strategic mind, he's gonna make a mental note of that one and know that, okay, Lowendick is gonna leave him space, I'm gonna go into that space next time by.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you keep in mind is you remember drivers like that. You say, okay, I can race this guy door to door. He's not going to cut me off. And those are the drivers that you go talk to in the paddock after the race, for sure. We also have another battle going on in the 9th position between Lucas Baciglipo and Christian Eisler. Eisler's been gaining on Lucas for quite a few laps here, but he hasn't been able to close the door. We're closing in right now. I believe this is the final lap that they're about to start here. Our leader just took the white flag this time by. Bruno Asturi is out to the lead by still 5 seconds over Acosta. So Acosta's fuel saving, unfortunately, did not give him the lead there. Eisler with a bad turn one. He will not have an opportunity here.
No, he did not, and Acerbo further back behind him. We were wondering earlier on, does Acerbo have a chance? Not quite. He was going a little bit too wide there on the penultimate corner of the last lap, so he is not going to have a chance to catch them up unless they start battling. But looks like Bacigalubo P9, Christian Eisler P10, Acerbo P number 11 is the running order here, as we should go and follow our race leader and the, unless a miracle happens, our race winner as well, Bruno Asturi.
Yeah, Bruno Asturi doing a great job today. It looks like he's a little bit low on fuel. He's going to coast it pretty gingerly to the line, but he's only got one corner to go. He can coast it from here. Bruno Asturi, after the mistakes from last week, is able to get the job done, and he will finish and win today's race in the PRL Sportscar Series, the GTE Series, here at Watkins Glen.
Abner Costa coming home second, his teammate One Tool for Level Motorsports again, just like in Interlagos. And Michael Ross, what a redemption drive it has been for him, coming home in P number 3 in podium ahead of Paulo Munoz and Rafael Russo, his best finish in a while. Mies, Squaric, Pfeffer, Bacigalubo and Eisler are going to be running out of top 10 bit of a battle potentially between Bacigalupo and Eisler, but I think Bacigalupo is gonna hold this home.
Yeah, so Bacigalupo is going to be able to hold on to that position, whereas Lowendick and Uribe, once again, they're unable to separate from one another as well. And yeah, very close there at the finish between Bacigalupo and Eisler, but Bacigalupo able to hold on to it there. As Lowendick and Uribe, it's going to be Lowendick who's going to hold on to 14th position. Uribe's only going to be good enough for the 15th spot.
Whoa, and can we get a quick replay after finish of Javi Utreras and his last corner? Because that was quite a good save. He was in P number 17 there, coming home and trying to desperately catch up to Juan Rivas Brea, I think it was, as he came to the last corner, and you can see him turning in just actually apexing nicely and then just losing all the traction, and he managed to avoid both the wall and spinning out.
Oh. That's some... We don't usually do drifting in the GTEs, but looks like Avi is doing a good job of it for sure. Well, that's going to take us to a short break here on the GSRC, but don't go anywhere. We will have the post-race interviews for you as well as the official results shortly afterwards, so we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League GTE series here at Watkins Glen. It was an intense race, especially in the mid-pack with multiple battles, but the driver who was able to run away with it all was Bruno Asturi, finally getting another win here, and Abner Acosta came home in second, 5 seconds behind him. Michael M. Ross with a great recovery drive. He is able to get up to third position after making a clean pass on Acerbo a little bit earlier in the race. Pablo Munoz is going to come home in fourth with Rafael Russo in fifth position. Rodrigo Mies is going to come home in sixth, able to get past Don E. Squarick in the penultimate lap of the race. Christopher Pfeffer coming home in the eighth position. Ninth will go to Lucas Bacigalupo, who was able to stay ahead of Christian Eisler in 10th.
Alexis Acerbo, after starting P number 3 and holding on to that early on, a little bit of a fracas with Donius Kirk ending up in 11th position, Eduardo Avila Gach ending 12th, Ignacio Hortal 13th, Ted Lowendick 14th, being able to hold back Pablo Uribe, who was 15th, then Juan Rivas Brea 16th, Javi Utreras 17th, J.R. Williams 18th, Ken Rodriguez 19th, and Jason Rimkas rounding out your top 20 where he started.
Miguel A. Lopez Torres is going to come home in the 21st position with Horatio Calquin after his big incident, coming home in 20 seconds, still on the lead lap. Liam Jenkins is going to come home in 23rd with Matt Hilton in 24th. Then we have the drivers who had trouble. Andres Espinosa just could not get the fuel right, comes home 3 laps down. Then we have Felipe Ruiz, who had an incident. Nick Uttahag having another incident as well, coming up in 27th. Then Kyle Strikers, Louise Payne Jr., and James Noon round out your finishers. Stacy Kyle Dunnigan did not start. And just a really exciting race today, Ocean. What are your thoughts after that one? We also have Bruno Asturi, actually, who's going to talk to us today from the win of the race. Bruno, a pretty quiet race for you out there, but it sure looked like there was some vast changes in track temperature that affected the handling of the cars.
Hi, Adam. Sorry, not speaking English. Abner instruction.
All right, so we have Abner Acosta joining us to help out. And Bruno, just wanted to ask you, it seemed like you had a pretty quiet day out there, but it seemed as well that you had some track temperatures that changed a lot and affected your handling. How did you handle that today?
Bruno, que te están diciendo que si parece que tuviste un día medio fácil, pero con los cambios de temperatura de pista, ¿cómo sentiste el auto?
Buenas noches ante todo. La verdad que sí, la carrera en realidad fue desgastante porque es una pista que no te permite errores, que si te equivocás tenés el guarrail al lado que se termina la carrera. Aparte que mi compañero Abner, la verdad que no me dio respiro, un ritmo increíble. Y sobre la temperatura de la pista, la verdad que el auto igual se sintió durante toda la tanda, los dos stints, muy parecidos. Logramos una muy buena configuración, por suerte.
Good evening. He said that the race was pretty rough. He said that this track, if you make one mistake, you can pretty much end your race really fast. But he said that pretty much with the temperature, he felt really good on both stints. It was pretty even for him in regards to lap times and consistency, but that he's saying that I was not letting him breathe throughout the whole race, so he was just worried about me, I guess.
All right, Bruno. Well, thank you for that. This will vault you to the top of the points championship going into next round. Next round is MotorSports. What are your thoughts about that track as we head towards Canada?
Bruno, ahora vas a estar al tope de los puntos. ¿Qué tú crees ahora de la próxima carrera de MotorSports? ¿Cómo te sientes ahí?
Bueno, es una pista, la verdad que es muy entretenida, es muy técnica. Vamos a ver, vamos a tratar de hacer lo mejor posible para seguirlo prendido ahí, tratando de dar pelea siempre que se pueda. Así que bueno, vamos a practicar y esperemos que se nos dé un buen resultado también.
MotorSport is a really fun track and technical track for me. I'll try to do my best so we can continue fighting and continue getting more points.
Awesome, Bruno. Well, is there anyone you want to thank today for your win?
Bruno, ¿quieres agradecer a alguien de tu victoria?
Sí, sobre todo a toda la gente del equipo, que si no es por ellos no se darían estos resultados. La verdad que nos apoyamos mucho el uno al otro y sin embargo, o sea, seguramente esto se nota en pista, así que agradecido a pertenecer al equipo Level. Y bueno, y también les mando un abrazo y un saludo grande a toda la gente que está mirando la transmisión y al buen trabajo, al increíble trabajo, los felicito que están haciendo.
He wants to thank everybody in the Level Motorsports team. We help each other out a lot, and he's sure that everybody can see that on track. And he's sending, I guess, hugs and kisses to everybody that's watching. And to you guys, thank you for broadcasting. You guys do a great job.
Well, thank you for joining us, Bruno. Great win today. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Gracias, Bruno. Nos vemos en la próxima carrera.
Dale, seguro. Nos vemos y saludos a todos.
Bye, guys.
All right, that was Bruno Asturi, our winner today. And we're actually going to keep Abner Acosta up here in the booth. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Ocean so he can talk to him.
Yes, Abner Acosta, it was mighty close out there today, or at least that was your perspective, a real few tenths of a second between you guys in qualifying and not much between you guys in the race as well. But Abner, honestly, I'm gonna ask you now. We're 3 races down, and in terms of raw pace, why are you not able to beat your teammate?
Well, Bruno's really fast. I've raced with him for a long time now, and raw pace. I'm gonna be straight up. He's super fast. He's definitely faster than me. I think where I have him, I'm definitely very consistent. I'm gonna I have 3 second places. Obviously, I'm still not first in the points, but maybe he'll make some mistakes in the future races. Even though he's my teammate, I guess that's or I'll need to practice a little bit more. But yeah, he's just too fast right now.
Yeah, he is mighty quick. He is very, very quick. Honestly, very good. And for a name I haven't heard of, pretty impressive as well. But Abner, coming back to your race, how was it? It was pretty hot in Watkins Glen today, and that combined with the fact that the GTE tires got updated earlier today. How much did you guys spend practicing before the race, knowing all these things?
Well, I got here like an hour before, but I know they were, messing around with the setup a little bit. So I just put on whatever they gave me. It was very bad timing for iRacing to the pop, I guess. But the cart didn't feel that bad. It felt pretty good. I think mostly in the race with the temperature. It wasn't much about the temperature. It was more about the first stint or first half. I was very inconsistent on my lap times. I guess I was just kind of like cautious or a little bit scared about the track and making a mistake. And I think at the end of the second stint, I was a lot closer to my lap times. I was matching a lot more, but losing that draft in the first stint pretty much, killed it for me.
And before we head to the final questions, just a quick one. How do you think the car has changed compared to last week and compared to the previous tire?
Well, it seems like the tires, the lap times, at least for me, seems like they dropped off a lot more after the first couple of laps. And in regards to the setup for this track that I had before, it was very, very loose everywhere, pretty much for me. So I had to be very cautious. And we kind of worked on that setup today, and it seemed to be a lot more stable. So I'm not a big setup guy, so that's all I got. They pretty much just give me the setups and I just run them. But yeah, we'll see how it ends up for the next week.
We'll definitely have to see that. Well, MotorSport next week. Are you confident you're gonna open up the winning ways this season?
So I mean, I know Bruno's my teammate and everything, but 3 second places, I want to win. So we'll see what we can do. I'll definitely put in a lot more practice, and yeah, we'll see.
Ok, Abner, finalmente algunas palabras en español para sus seguidores.
Well, that was pretty good. Sí, quiero agradecer a Level Motorsports y a toda la gente del equipo y que me ayudan con los setup, todo, y a todos ustedes por el broadcast y a toda la gente que ve PRL y todos los que participan. Gracias.
Gracias, Abner. And with that, Adam, I believe it is time to go for the final words of our broadcast.
Yep, that's going to wrap us up for today. We want to give a big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to this season's sponsors, Simulation Motorsports Affinity, and also the ButtKicker. They're both great sponsors and have been supporting PRL for the last couple of years. We want to give a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our own broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. As always, many thank you to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work, and really I encourage you to do so. She's got some great stuff. Thanks to today's crew, Joe, Ocean, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find all of that at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you want to see more racing action, make sure that big red subscribe button down there turns gray today. Go ahead and hit that and hit the bell so that way you won't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As you just saw, our next race will be MotorSport Round 4. That's going to be Tuesday, July 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great one. We also have upcoming races for other series listed here on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this action to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.